Good afternoon. Today it's May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and we just had the beans reveal. So we're going to talk about what beans look like and everything that you can look forward to with the beans. All right. So we have Chris here, Piston2X on Twitter. And today, well, first off, Chris is an Azuki holder and obviously got airdrops the beans. So we wanted to bring him on to talk about beans. I think last time we had you on was right after the dirt was revealed, I believe. And we were sort of talking about what the this drop could be. So now it's finally here. What is it? Almost 6 weeks later. So what was your sort of initial take on this beans reveal?
It was positive. Like the reveal for me, it was the art. I guess you could say was better than I thought it would be. I was in the boat of people that when I first, was first revealed that the bean pods were actually going to be beans, like I was kind of negative on it. But I would say it was better than I expected, especially with what they announced in their tweet thread.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly bring up what they sort of look like. Here's it on OpenSea. And I guess sort of like what you said, I was expecting the floors to just sort of all look the same. And as you can see on the screen, like I think one thing they did well was they have a lot of different types of beans. And obviously, the high end stuff are going to be the gold and the spirit beans, but it's not just all blue and red, which I think was one thing people were concerned about initially. So, what do you think about like the stuff that they're wearing on here? Because there's a lot of different outfits, so a lot of different combos, but there's also a lot that go in line with the Azuki. So, do you like sort of the accessories that they have on here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few here and there that I don't prefer, but yeah, overall, like it's in terms of just profile picture projects, I think they did a good job with just the art and the traits. It all works well for a profile picture.
Right, yeah, and I think, let me pull up the tweet thread now. So, pretty much, we weren't sure if they were going to come out and mention any more details on the beans themselves, but they put out this, tweet thread right after the reveal started. Obviously, it started about an hour ago at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and they're showing all the different types of beans out there. Uh, the big thing that I was just mentioning was so they have the red and blue, but then they also have a whole set of other beans, and they have the edamame, the lentil, pinto beans. Like they're taking a lot of the actual beans in real life and using those. So, was there anything that immediately popped out to you on this thread that you want to talk about in particular?
Yeah, for me, like if you scroll down a little bit, that announcement they made of the guy that they brought on.
Hmm.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
here.
Rahito.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what they. So it says that he was a former. Yeah, he helped build the iconic global brands like Hello Kitty, and I think that's what they were going for with this beans. That's sort of the whole culture that they're looking to get into, the Asian culture with Hello Kitty, and they're doing their own thing with beans here. So this hire, with the guy who helped build Hello Kitty, I think is huge.
Yeah. And then obviously, so if you're just listening to the audio, it's Hito Hatayama. I believe I'm saying that right. And now they're bringing him on as an advisor for Chiro Labs, which is connected to Azuki. And yeah, as you mentioned, like the Hello Kitty brand is such a massive brand globally. And I think Azuki specifically, they're really trying to expand to more of the Eastern culture and especially with the artwork. So yeah, I agree with that. This was a big name that I think was somewhat expected. People have been talking about it, at least recently, when it comes to the beans. And then the other thing on this thread that popped out to me was the selfie mode. So they have within the website itself, you can go in and get a selfie of your bean, and it's this like close up version of it. And this sort of goes off with that uh, Hello Kitty style to the art. Um, do you think this is going to be something that people start using as their profile pictures?
That's hard to say. I mean, like if you have an Azuki, I think you'll start to see a lot of Azuki profile pictures have their beans with it.
Hmm.
But for the people that have just a bean, um, yeah, you may see a few here and there. It's hard to say though for sure.
Yeah. So then let me go up another one here. Now, if you have a bean and you have an Azuki, you are able to go on and put the bean into your Azuki art. As you see on the GIF here, you're able to pair it. And what they're saying here is it doesn't actually update the metadata or change the NFTs, but it's a way that you can combine them and save the file. So I'm not sure if that's what people were exactly expecting with it, but it's probably a better way to do it because I think that's one thing that the Doodles ran into with, oh, you're kind of stuck with your space doodle. Here, you're not really changing anything, so you can kind of pair as you wish. So one thing I wanted to ask is, so you were an Azuki holder, but you were heavily debating on keeping the bean through reveal or not. So walk us through a little of your thinking on why you were looking to sell the bean pre-reveal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just always every time, a project reveals, the floor price drops, or practically every time. So
Hmm.
I mean, that right there was the biggest reason. Second, like you brought up, like, I didn't think it would be well received. We were just thinking all blue, red and blue beans wasn't going to be much differentiation. From when you look at the floor, they would all just look the same. So I thought it wouldn't be well received, and the floor price was just going to drop, down to 2 or 3 or whatever. But obviously, that didn't happen. So far, it's going a lot better than expected.
Yeah, and I think the highest it got in pre-reveal was around in the sevens or so. When they announced reveal on what was that Monday, they immediately shot up to that seven range and then came back down to around six. Now, I believe the lowest I saw was around 4.1 or so. There weren't too many sales at or under four, but then it's climbed back up to this 5 ETH, which I think is shown somewhat of a bullish reveal because, like you said, a lot of times these can really crash after the reveal comes out. So then now, as an Azuki holder, do you find this to be a good reveal and something positive for the rest of the Azuki ecosystem as well? Because that had gone up to around 30 and it's been sitting there pretty much all week.
Right. It's hard to say right now. I think with the NFT space, it's all driven by hype and attention, and I guess we'll see how much attention this keeps and on Azuki, the whole brand. So if it does keep attention, everybody's using it as a profile picture, and it keeps up hype on Twitter. Maybe they have another announcement coming. Then yeah, I'm bullish on Azuki. Otherwise, I think maybe we just kind of see them hover for a while, kind of like what Bored Apes did over the past year before they really took off. There was always
Um,
go up, hover around, kind of plateau, and then before they, there's an announcement that comes, and then they go up again.
Yeah, and they're sitting around their 26 ETH or so, Azuki themselves. So, still pretty high up and above a lot of these other. We're sort of in this, blue chip meta right now. And we see in this thread, there's also some people that are talking about this artwork that I saw that includes somewhat of like a merchandise layer to it, where now that you have this IP and you're seeing that face, the selfie mode that they talk about, you can sort of see that vision, what they're going for, which it makes it a lot easier to put on merch. So do you think you're someone that would buy a merch that has your Azuki on it, or maybe even the bean?
I would have to see what it looks like first. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I probably would, but I mean, maybe not my bean exactly, but like just the bean or Azuki branding in general. Yeah.
Yeah, because I looking at these, like I wouldn't do the ones that are like a suitcase per se,
Yeah.
but I could see putting it on a mug or one of these other sort of cups or like the plushies, like that could be something good for children in general. And I think that's another take that people have had with the beans is that it's a little more family friendly and some of them are more like
Well,
young look.
the thing I have when it comes to like, I hear that a lot with like Beans or Doodles, that family friendly, but then at the same time, you got them like holding cigars and stuff like that. So
That's true. Yeah. I guess while we're sort of on that topic, so Doodles came out as well. They had a little teaser tweet yesterday. We still don't know tons of details on it, but basically, we had this tweet from the Doodles team yesterday that just said the word Friday on it. And then it's a little clip that this guy goes over, turns, and just says Doodles tweeted Friday. And that's the whole clip. People have been pretty excited about Doodles this week. It seems like everyone's sort of expecting them to be next to do something. So, do you have any thoughts on Doodles? I'm not sure. I don't think you hold a Doodle, but have you, from potentially like looking from afar, do you think this is something that we're going to actually see like change NFTs as some people are saying?
yeah, I have no idea. Like, I know the Doodles team is top tier. I mean, everything I've heard about the Doodles team is like, don't fade with what they're gonna do.
Hmm.
Um, However, like that, they haven't really teased what's really coming, so it's hard for me to say.
And for those watching, we also, if you didn't see, we do have an article going that we're kind of following the news of the Doodles that Jason Bales had started on earlier, and right now it's a lot of this speculation and what are people saying. There's a couple tweets in here from Poopy, who is the leader of the Doodles team, and he's worked with Roham in the past from Top Shot. And so there's thoughts that maybe there's potentially something to do with Flow or potentially something to do with Dapper in general, that the connections there that exist. And then a lot of the mods and higher ups in the Doodle Discord now have this bucket as part of their um, name attached to the end, as you can see here. And then there has been some talk about Shopify. So Shopify, obviously, if you remember from the South by Southwest, they kind of ran a lot of the merchandise of that drop. If you remember, there was like the little cart that brought you your items as you checked out. And it sounds like potentially Spotify will be launching some sort of marketplace in line with Doodles that could be connected to your specific Doodles. So obviously, Doodles have run up from about 15 to 17 range to now they're around 25 ETH. Do you think that anything at this point that they announce is potentially just baked in already?
Yeah, I mean, with that's kind of what I think could happen. Like, maybe some people have gotten enough of a hint, or maybe got inside info. I don't want to say that, but like they got enough of a hint where they know something big's coming, and yeah, and it's already baked in. But if it's even bigger than their expectations, sure, we could go and see it run up more. I think that's what we saw with Azuki leading up to their huge run.
Yeah, and even Beanz to that as well. I'm going to bring us back over to Beanz for a second here. So now it's over 5, like pretty safely, but there's way more listings now. I'm not sure if that's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. Like sometimes people will quote the listings of it, but do you think that you would potentially try to get back into Beanz, or is sort of all the info out there that would make that decision already for you?
I mean, you mean if I completely sold out already, would I get back in?
Yeah, because you sold one
I sold.
yesterday or something,
No,
right? Yeah.
I sold one of like a couple weeks ago, like
Okay.
um, but and I still hold one. Like, but if I completely sold out, would I get back in? Uh, maybe. I mean, if I saw one that like fit my Azuki, I guess, and was at the floor, then sure I might. Um, but otherwise, probably not.
Hmm.
I mean, most people are making their decisions based on what they think the floor price is going to do, right?
Right. Yeah. And to me, it's tough. I hold a couple of beans, and it's tough at this level, at this 5 ETH level, because I feel like that might just be sort of the correct price of it.
Right.
If we think of it in comparison to Azuki, they're about 1/5 the price. There's twice as many beans that gets factored in. If you are of the mindset that it should be 1/4 of the price, then it's underpriced. But that's hard to really say as well. People are comparing this to the Bored Ape Kennel Club, also comparing it to the Mutant Ape. Do you think either of those are good comparisons? I feel like it's a little different here, but I saw there was the tweet from Zagabond who he was talking about this is kind of like the kennel dogs. Did you find that statement from Zagabond to be more of a bearish sentiment, or what was sort of your thought off of that?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that, that was definitely bearish. I mean, he said it was going to be like the Kennel Club, but different, and I guess that makes sense based on what's been revealed here. But yeah, I mean, if it's just based on hearing Kennel Club, like yeah, that was bearish for me, and I guess you can say that was another reason why I thought about selling my last bean. But you know, we're all degenerates here, so I wanted to try for the spirit bean or the gold bean.
Yeah, so then sort of let's get a little into what is going to happen with this money flow now, because one thing that's been big in NFTs the last few weeks is it seems like people are heavily like segmented to one thing and then move to the next thing. So one thought with beans is like today is their day, but is everyone just going to forget about them and move towards Doodles tomorrow? So it obviously depends on if Doodles are dropping something tomorrow or if it's just news. But what do you think the sort of rotation is going to be, or is our beans going to sort of have this weekend?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always these rotations going on, right? But I mean, as we've seen over the past, I don't know, month or two, the blue chips, while they've rotated up and down here a little bit, overall they've we've had that sort of K shaped where they've separated themselves from the rest of the market. And I mean, honestly, kind of I want to say we see that continue to happen. While sure, beans may have a drop or Azuki may have a drop, and things rotate from from other side into Azuki now into Doodles. Sure, maybe we see that, but uh, overall, like I still want to have my chips in the blue chip basket rather than all these just kind of random projects popping up with not really strong brands or funding or teams behind them.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I've sort of I've separated from a lot of the blue chip stuff, and that was one reason why I've um, attached myself to beans a little more, is because I don't currently have an Azuki, but it's a way of getting into the ecosystem. I don't have any of the other deeds, which was a way to get back into the Bored Ape ecosystem. But this one, I still buying a bean feel like I'm part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, I think you can see it too, like sort of like mutant apes. Like at one point, mutant apes were probably a better investment than bored apes because, like, bored apes, you could go and expect to see a maybe 2x, 3x max,
yeah.
but mutant apes were at a point where, like, okay, they could theoretically 5 or 6x, and maybe that's a good point here with the beans. Like, beans are a better investment than some of these 20 plus blue chip collections, 20 plus floor.
Beans are kind of an investment in Azuki in that way as well, where if you think Azuki will get up to 50 ETH, 100 ETH floor,
Yeah.
then like you said, like ROI wise, the beans should go up with that. So that'll be interesting to see. And that's sort of why I think short term, I'm not sure if beans floor are just going to jump up to 10, because that would mean that Azuki would have to go up to say like 40. In order for that to really be able to hold and make sense. And that's sort of what happened with the kennel dogs originally. They were like too high priced. initially. Uh, but I feel like the market is getting more mature in that sense. So if you think in that sense, like, are people going to flow maybe to something like uh, World of Women and uh, Invisible Friends, which are sort of in that same range, but they're not the secondary part of a blue chip collection?
Uh, I mean, I'm not too into Invisible Friends and World of Women so it's. I mean, I can't really see myself saying people are gonna go into that because I'm not personally,
Hmm.
want to buy into that. I think it's more likely you see money flow wherever the tension's going. That day, if it's Doodles, money's gonna flow there. Maybe there's some sort of new, announcement from Yuga Labs on the other side. Money's gonna flow there. I mean, things are going to go up and down. Nobody knows how everything's going to shake out in the long term. That's why I kind of just like, you know,
Yeah.
diversifying, having a little bit in every basket, taking profits along the way.
Yeah. And are you still in Meta Heroes? Because that's one that's sort of
Yeah.
been behind the scenes for a little bit. Um, Do you know, is there much more information on the sidekicks? Because I think I've seen that been thrown around a little bit, as that could be one place people start going towards. They're about a point 0.2 ETH floor right now on the sidekicks themselves. But what's your thoughts on just Meta Hero in general? Because Pixel Vault's kind of been behind for a little bit. And you'd like to think it's because they're building and trying to separate from Beanie. So what's your thoughts on MetaHero?
Yeah, no, I'm super bullish on them. I was buying mint passes maybe a month or two ago and just holding them. I mean, they're one project that I like the floor price. However, whatever happens to them, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't look at them. I'm just comfortable holding till
Mhm.
whatever they announce. Um, yeah, the frustrating thing with them though is like you'll see a lot of hype on Twitter and like they get teased here and there, like things are coming, but then nothing comes.
Yeah.
So that's the frustrating part. But like, yeah, they got a strong team. I believe in what they're doing, and yeah, I think at some point we're gonna see a huge jump from them if they deliver what they act like they're gonna deliver.
Yeah. And I was originally big in Pixel Vault back in like the Punks comics. I don't hold them anymore. The Beanie stuff was kind of worrisome to me long term, but I feel like they're pretty separated out from that at this point. And like I think the art's pretty cool as far as using them as PFPs. I've been testing out the beans a little bit, and they're okay. You kind of have to zoom in a little bit, and I don't love when you have to zoom in on stuff like that.
Mm.
But I think the selfie mode might actually be better versions
Yeah.
of
Okay.
for PFPs, but haven't really tried that out too much. But I do think that the meta heroes are cool. Have you just been staking? Because they were one of the first to really make staking like sort of a big thing.
Yeah, I just have one meta hero, and yeah, I've been staking that from the beginning. So I've built up like 2 ETH or so just from staking for the past 5 months. The POW tokens.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, they have to go and they have to deliver like a strong game because you go and look and see what happened to Cool Cats. If it's disappointing, then not saying that the Cool Cats are dead because obviously
Right.
they're
But
not, but they're far down from where they're not considered blue chip anymore.
yeah, I think the big issue with Cool Cats was how it delayed. I think if their current iteration of the game came out with that first wave, it would have been better. But once it became a month, 2 months that people are waiting around and they have to like reset the earnings and all that sort of thing, a lot of people jumped ship off that and just noticed that the price was going down. They didn't end up being part of Yuga Labs at all. I did just get a message that this bean just sold for 70 Ethereum
Wow.
to Shadow Ban. I've seen this Shadow Ban has been throwing a lot of offers onto the different beans. So this one is a spirit and already listed it for 110. So trying to flip it, even though it is considered one of the better ones, these spirit ones. So still some pretty good volume on the beans. a
What a
little
world we live
mixture
in
up
where
top.
we're throwing around six figures on a little cartoon bean like
Right.
it's nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how it's expanded. And I think if this was a collection on its own, it would be different. But the fact that you're connected to what at this point is considered one of the blue chips, Azuki, then it makes a lot more sense. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
this one,
we got to see like Azuki become like that big like mainstream brand, like it looks like they're trying to do with through the beans, where you can have merch that appeals to a wider audience.
right? Like the real world branding
Yeah,
is, I
yeah,
think, big.
right.
Right now there's a lot more branding with Bored Apes. Like I was out last week and saw someone wearing a Bored Ape Yacht Club sweatshirt, and I was like, oh, I recognize that. I'm not sure how many other people around might have recognized it, but I think there's certain projects that people outside of our sort of echo chamber would then go look at and be able to notice. And I think Azuki's sort of becoming one of those. They're trying to be that. I joke I'll wear some Goons gear, and I'm like, oh, no one commented on my Goons gear, not knowing what it was. I've gotten comments that are like, oh, that's a cool hat. Like, where'd you get it? But until people start realizing and recognizing what the brands actually are, we're not like fully there.
Yeah.
Um, are there any other things that are coming up or you're expecting this weekend that you're looking forward to in NFTs?
Um, no, not particularly. I mean, I don't do a ton of trading anymore. I mean, basically because there isn't many opportunities. So
Yeah.
kind of just sitting and holding, and maybe you can one thing that I found out that is good with the update of the Lux Rare listing rewards.
Yeah.
There's some good like flip like buy snipe opportunities on LuxRare with like other side deeds where you can find people that list some things way undervalued and flip those.
Yeah, we could talk about that a little bit here because we did. Um, it did get announced yesterday at Looks Rare that they're changing up the rewards. So they recently did rewards. I think they learned that the rewards are maybe, I guess you could say, like the system wasn't perfect. It was originally 1.5 times the floor, and you started earning based off of these listings. And so you would earn points, and the point system was basically how you got paid out based on where they ranked in the 24-hour volume. So Other Deed has been sitting at the top since basically it came out. This phantom drop from yesterday that's had some wild movement. It was a 2 ETH mint that went all the way up to 5 ETH floor. Now it's all the way back to 2 ETH floor. And basically you get earnings based off of listing off of these. And they made the change yesterday where basically instead of 1.5 times the floor, it's 1.4 times the floor to start earning. But closer you get to the actual floor price, down to the 1.1 times the floor, you get a 10 times multiplier. So what's your thoughts on the thinking of Looks Rare? Do you think it's a better version? Because I know a lot of people were just listing to list and earn before. So you think this, maybe people have to think a little more when they go to
Yeah.
list?
Well, no, I mean, I experienced it firsthand just this morning. I replied to Tyler D's tweet. But basically, like I had an other deed that I didn't really want to sell, and it was like maybe worth a little bit above a floor one. And so I listed it like at 1.09x the floor to get the 10x rewards. And like within an hour, it sold.
Yeah.
Realistically, I probably could have sold it for a little bit more than that. But yeah, I didn't really want to sell it. And at the same time, I had sniped a different land at it was way undervalued at like 5 ETH or 4.9 ETH. I bought it for, and I instantly got an offer on it for an ETH more than that. So
Oh,
I think people are going to start to experience, that if their listings get sniped or there's so much volatility, that things are getting sniped or they're instantly going outside of that 1.1 or 1.4 range. They're going to give up on it because I kind of feel that
yeah.
way already.
Yeah, and I noticed it with Beanz specifically the other day when they made that announcement, and I'm trying to come up with some data, but it's hard because they like once I started trying to come up with the data, they changed their reward system. But it was one thing that was really interesting. There was about 2,500 beans that were listed on LooksRare and only 200 listed on OpenSea at the time. And when I dug a little more into it, it was about 60% of those listings on LooksRare were at the basically 1.4
Just
to
under 1.5.
1.5 range.
Right.
Yeah. And so when the floors started rising, and this brings me to another point of use things like Genie and Jam, those aggregators, because the floor on OpenSea was 7.4, but there was still like 20 beans on LooksRare that were less than 7 ETH. So if you're trying to trade, trying to work this market a little bit, definitely shop around in the different marketplaces. And when these floors rise fast, I think that it started at, say, like 5 ETH when they made that announcement. There was a massive wall at 7.5 ETH because that was exactly the 1.5 times.
Right.
So now at 1.4, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing that where the wall is. But
Yep.
when these things rise, like, do you think that's bad? Because that's 2,000 more that would have to sell for that to really get to that 80th floor, specifically for beans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it definitely causes some resistance when it comes to a floor price jumping up a lot on a piece of news. I mean, I think this what they did is going to deter it some. I mean, you're also going to have people watching, and like I've had to cancel my listings a couple of times because I didn't want it to sell and it got too close. So, you will see people delist if it gets too close, but yeah, there's definitely it creates some resistance to prevent floor prices from going up. Is it that big a deal? It's hard to say.
Right. And then I wanted to show, just in case people that are watching maybe haven't used Gem before, but you can see it right now. The floor is very different from marketplace to marketplace at times. Some of that has to do with the different reward systems. So on X2Y2, they had it basically set up where there were no fees in April. I think now it's 0.5% fee instead. But you can see the floor over there is lower because after you sell, you're basically getting the same as OpenSea. So the floor is 4.55 on X2Y2, but the first one you see on OpenSea is at 4.75. The first one on LooksRare is 4.6. So this is what I was saying before about shopping between the two. Have you used Gem much? Do you prefer Genie or any other?
No, I haven't because I mean I really don't do this too much of trying to snipe, but yeah, I'm gonna start using it more now.
Yeah, and I'd say even less so just for sniping. I think NFT Nerds is one that is pretty good on the sniping side because they're usually like as things reveal, people will use. But this one is for me when you're looking pre-reveal. I like to use this because of imagine if these were all just the bean images in same prices, you'd be able to see you could save 0.2 ETH by just buying on the other site,
All right.
and buying on the other sites you generally get more rewards. And obviously OpenSea just bought Gem, so it'll be interesting to see what that partnership is going to be as well.
Yeah, what do you feel like they're gonna? I don't know. Play
It,
play around with the competitor listings or something.
yeah, my initial thought was Gem was sort of this like OpenSea killer in a way,
Right.
and I think maybe OpenSea didn't want them to get too big, so they buy them. Um, it'll be interesting to see though. One thing that was funny that I saw on Twitter is like right after that OpenSea announced this, Gem was down like for the next hour. They're like, oh, well, of course, OpenSea's taking it over. And then I think Genie is now partnering with Looks Rare, which would
Oh,
make
really?
sense too. Um, then there's this other one, Blur. Have you tried out Blur at all?
I have
I don't
not.
think the
No.
marketplace exists yet, but let me pull up this Blur tweet because I think this is another version of Gem where they're trying to aggregate marketplaces, and people are coming out and basically um, the way that it works right now is similar to when Coinbase NFT began, and you invite other people to join. Um, so introduced Blur. It's in beta right now, and they're calling it a marketplace for pro traders, real time listings, analytics. I don't believe because I went in there and I don't believe there's actually any sort of marketplace you can play in yet. But if you give invites to other people and then they check your wallet for activity to sort of give access to people based off of a ranking system. So have you heard anything about this one? Because this just popped up yesterday with still limited details.
Yeah, I mean, you probably know more than I do. I heard about it, but I haven't read deeply into it yet.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. There's a decent amount of people that are recognizable names who are in the seed round for it. Let me see if I can find, but here's their leaderboard as shown. So Sneaky Ninja Pants, who is sort of widely known as I don't know, I guess you'd call him a flipper. I'm not sure if are you familiar with Sneaky Ninja Pants? Um,
I'm not. No.
this is an account that buys and flips on reveal often, and I think has his own Discord and NFT project with it. So I'm sure he shilled this out to his own Discord, all of the invites, and to gain the points. But I think this is basically rewarding people who have a lot of transactions and are net positive trading on the platform. So it doesn't really surprise me with that name because I feel like I always see that name when looking at activity following right after a reveal. But basically, what it's saying is off of the leaderboard, that's who's going to get in and be able to use the marketplace first. Similar to
Have you looked
Coinbase.
at where you're at on the leaderboard? Are you
The
able to
last
do
one I
that?
saw, I was in the hundreds.
I'm
So
curious now.
I think all of my invites got used already, but it was going down like immediately. I don't want to say I was one of the first people because I don't really know how early I was in clicking the link, but the first number I saw was like 54, I think.
So the
It
points are
was
based on how many people you've invited?
So it's a combo. So first they basically analyze your wallet and say you've bought X amount of ETH in NFTs, sold X amount, and they give you a points setting. And then when you trade or when you do the invites for it, they then go, and I wonder if it has it right here. I think they break it out, but basically the website it's kind of cool looking. It's a little different, but let's see if they have it in the about points. So the way that the points get calculated is it's a wait list that you pretty much start with the initial points based on your year-to-date trading volume, and then the invite points you get. It's saying a fifth of your invite points. So if you invited someone that's a big trader, then you're going to get more points for that invite than inviting someone who's a lower end trader. And then they have this second degree invite points. So the first I saw of it was Andy 8052, who he was listed as one of the seed members, but
Isn't he
he
also seed and
tweeted,
Luxor?
I think so, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so basically he posts the link and then that person sends it to someone else and he's getting consecutive as the spider web kind of expands there. And so you're getting the boosts based on when your invites go on and redeem it. So the earlier you get people invited, the more points you can get from there. And it's almost too gamified for just a wait list, I feel like. But that sort of goes to my other point, is the Coinbase NFT is now sort of for anyone to use. And have you used it at all? Because I have access. I had it during beta a little bit, and I tried it out and immediately didn't like it. So I just haven't used it at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough people on there to really want to use it, right? And there's not any incentive. Like OpenSea, you use it because that's where all the volume and liquidity is at. Liquidity use it for the rewards. I mean, what Coinbase doesn't have a reason to use it.
Yeah. Right now, if you want to say like the reason to use Coinbase NFTs, I think they are waiving all of the trading fees right now.
Right.
But the argument that I had was I went on to my own page, and it's just so impossible to use some of it. It takes all of your NFTs, even those random airdrops that get thrown into your wallet, or like the Polygon NFTs, and it doesn't sort easily. There's not really good filters. So I expected them to fix some of that before they let other people use it. But you click the shop NFTs page, and I mean, there's a couple of beans on here, but the first 3-4 items on here, I look at it and I'm like, I have never even like heard of these projects. And it's just like I don't know, it seems like they don't really have a good sense of the market of NFTs right now. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I don't know. It seems like there's a lot they still need to do before this is really ready for any sort of mass adoption.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know who tweeted this, but I saw it. What they need to do is like just for the normal person to be able to come in and buy an NFT with a credit card, like you can with Top Shot, or how you can just with your credit card deposit money onto Coinbase.
Yeah. Then the other thing they have here, I need to find one that has them, but they have this comments section, and it's just sort of odd because it's not a direct conversation you have with someone. It's just comments. So I have to find one, but there's been some that sort of go around on Twitter a little bit that, I don't know, people are just trolling in a lot of those comments. So do you think this comment section is good or not good? Like, this person seems to be shilling their wallet address, epic thread here. Like, I don't know. This part seemed weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's really going to use it. I don't know how it's really going to work out positively.
Yeah,
I feel like it's just going to be either trolling or shilling or scams.
Yeah, I've heard some people compare this to like the Instagram of NFTs. You can go on and follow people. So if I went in here, I could say follow the creator of it or the holder of it. You could follow them. You can see how many followers they have, who they're following, and that part of it is kind of cool. You can sort of track what other people are doing, but I just think it leads to a lot of spam stuff, especially if it goes down the Instagram route, where, I mean, if you go on Instagram and just type in hashtag NFT, then you get 10 immediately spammed comments and messages. And I just feel like it's going to sort of go down that path.
Right. I mean, one thing I do like, I think it was maybe on the main page, like where you can kind of favorite, people's wallets, kind of easily more access them.
Yeah.
So like I'll there, there's wallets that I want to go and see what they're doing or what's in their wallet, and then I'll go and like bookmark in my Chrome browser their wallet and check it periodically. But
Yeah.
I think Coinbase has it a little bit more easier easily do that though.
Yeah, it's more as you were mentioning earlier, like easier for someone who's not deep into crypto or Ethereum itself. Like there's ways that you can go in and track a wallet and get notifications sent to you right now, but Coinbase is pretty much supposed to be helping this mass adoption and make it easy for a general person who doesn't have an Ethereum wallet even that can go in and follow, oh, what is Gary V buying? Because I mean, the last few times I've been on, say, Facebook, there's ads that are like Gary V's buying into this NFT project, and you could go and check the chain and easily see he's not. This is a way to actually see what is Gary V buying into, what does his collection look like? Because right now you go on here and you're like, oh, what are these wrapped strikers? But I think if you click into it, he bought these a long time ago. So it's just oddly sorted, oddly set up right now. There's not a ton of organization. I think that's why people aren't really using it.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to look at to see if you could move around your NFTs. Yeah, you can go and hide your junk NFTs like you can on OpenSea.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's one like feature I would want is like where I can put, if I want to show off my top NFTs, I can put them all at the top. So when somebody comes to my account, they can see, my top tier NFTs at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was my issue is I was just scrolling and couldn't even find any NFTs that I was considering to list on there. And some of these aggregators don't see a difference or aren't bringing in Coinbase yet. So there might still have the opportunity to maybe buy stuff a little cheaper. I think I saw someone bought a bean earlier on Coinbase that the person listed it while it was still a bean and it turned out to be a gold bean.
Right.
And someone went in and sniped it because it was still listed on Coinbase. So there's probably going to still be some opportunities like that. As it gets better up, but for the general person, it's still so disorganized, I feel like, and
Right.
people aren't even talking about it.
Nope.
Um,
It didn't help that I don't think the slow rollout really helped because all the people that had access, they really weren't using it because there was barely anybody on it. And
right.
now they've kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah. Cool. So let me bring us back before we head out here and do another check on the beans. They've been our sort of main theme for today, as in my mind, they're sort of the project of the day. Floors around 4.6, which seems like it's been in that 4.5 to 5 range since reveal. 1,800 or so are listed, so still under 10%, which is good. I kind of like this one with the little hot dog on the stick. That's in here at floor right now, but seems like it's still holding up decently well. Once we get off here, I'll start looking to see if people are using the PFPs on Twitter because I think that's usually a bullish sign if people are
Right.
sharing it, things like that. But um, as of now, it seems like there's been pretty good volume. It's up to 42,000 traded. Obviously, it's been around for about 6 weeks, so a lot of that's from there. But yeah, I think so far, like it seems like people are pretty interested in the beans. I'm not sure, not going to try to call what the bottom is or anything, but it's held above 4.5 most of this time. So I think if you bought in any time in the past few weeks, you're not too mad if you're buying it at 5 because as we mentioned earlier, like the floor does drop a little.
Right.
Um, so what about this one? Looks like this one just sold for 50 ETH.
Wow. That's not
Uh,
even, was that a spirit one? No, doesn't look like it.
doesn't
Maybe.
look like it's a Spirit. It has this special though.
Right.
So they have
Blending
some
trades.
specials that looks like there's a few different words. So this is the rarest of the specials. This lightning with the drums. Um, Interesting that they chose that one. There's these other ones at 30 ETH but I guess they just
I
assumed.
think that one had lightning eyes as well.
Mm,
So it was
so
doubled
the
up.
combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, plus
Pretty
lightning
cool.
orb or something. It looks like so three lightnings.
Oh yeah. And is lightning? I'm not as familiar with Azuki, but is lightning a big trait there outside of the spirits?
Well, they have like four elements. It's lightning, fire, water, and earth. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like one of the yeah. That's the one of the big things outside of gold and spirit is the
Yeah.
four elements.
Yeah, I think when we had you last time, we were going over like the top ones, and it does seem like people like to, I guess you call them stacked,
Yeah, the
um,
combos, right?
the combo ones. So like the all lightning. So seems like that's what people went into on here. And yeah, we at Lucky Trader, we are basically keeping up to date with all the news surrounding the beans. And then obviously, whatever happens with the Doodles tomorrow, we'll keep you updated there. So check out luckytrader.com is where we'll have the up to date project updates, NFT news, basically as they flow in. So thanks for hopping on today, Chris. I think it was a good show we
Yeah,
said.
thanks for having me.
So far, so good with this beans reveal. I think, as you mentioned earlier, like you had concerns that it could go under 3 ETH, and it's held up pretty well since then. And I think that their thread and announcement is going to stay in people's minds, as it's not exactly the kennel dogs that pretty much got forgotten, but it seems like they have a lot of plans for the beans. And so far, as a holder, I feel okay about it. Like I'm not concerned in trying to um, throw these out at the floor or anything. So
Right.
excited to see what happens this weekend, if it continues to be beans or moves on to anything else. But we'll be back here on Monday to hopefully have positive things to talk about with beans and doodles and anything else that's going on with NFTs next week.